Welcome back again, everybody, for another incredible music spirit and accountability podcast. Mr. Michael Cooper is in the house. Welcome, brother. My name is Jay Hoad. Today, we're talking about playing the long game, and this is a theme that has been pivotally life changing for Michael Cooper and myself. Mike, how are you today, brother?
Hey, brother. I'm good, mate. I'm really good. So good to be back in the seat with you again after a little time in hiatus and the abyss of
It has been a bit
life.
of a hiatus there, hey?
Mm,
Mate, it's great
yeah.
to be here with you. And I feel like this topic we're speaking into today is going to. I just think it's been really put into perspective lately for both of us with the
Mm,
impact of the changes we've been seeing in our lives. So many of these dreams that we've been working on hard for the last few years. When I say hard, with ease and grace and balance to the best of our
mm,
ability, but seeing these beautiful locations that we've been able to move to and working in around the world, our business projects, our relationships, our depth for this relationship, and
mm,
making the time to even make a podcast in this world when everything's so busy. So
mm.
I would love to ask you, first of all, what's your end game? We're talking today about the long game. Let's talk 10 years. What's your 10-year plan right now?
Yeah. Thank you, mate. Thank you. And, like when we first sort of started to speak about this, it was about doing the little things that add up to that
Yeah.
and holding that vision for that long game. And my back in my days in finance, you could always tell someone's financial blueprint and the way their what life would pan out by the language they used.
Yeah.
And it's I would ask people very early on in the relationship, usually 5 minutes. Okay, great. So what do you earn? And that was something that I navigated because my dad said never ask someone what they earn, and here I am doing it as a job.
Yeah.
But I can always tell where someone's frame is by the words they use. And they said, "Oh, I earn $300 a week." Ah, so you live week to week. And then as you would scale up and work with different levels of people, you would get to maybe that upper management, the vice president maybe kind of level, and they say, "Oh, I'm on 300,000 a year," and you're like, "Cool, I can see that your framing is around annually." But then you get around to the CEO kind of visionary founder kind of level, and they're talking generally 5 to 10 year plans.
Yeah.
And so when I was in that, this is back in 2014, I actually had 1,000 year plan. I tried to find it before we dived onto this call so we could share it on screen, but I had 1,000 year plan, and everyone was like, "Well, what do you expect to live to 1,000?" And I said, "No, but my legacy should."
Mm.
And if I won't get into legacy and what that means and how to create it today, maybe for another time, but 1,000 years, that number should not even be realistic. I can't remember how to
Yeah.
say the number. It was that big
Yeah.
because the compounding effect on what I can create in this lifestyle, in this lifetime of my 70, 80 odd years, what is it when you 1,000 exit? And the number was ridiculous. And it scared me enough to realize that I can't rest on my laurels. I need to do the day to days. And so that was why I ran that exercise. It was really cool to see what I could create and what my family lineage would look like. Now, fast forward, lo and behold, I've had life events where it's pushed me forward, pulled me back, and done all the things, but the consistency was always there of just trudging towards that end goal.
Yeah.
And, things are materializing in my life at the moment because of that, that I'm already at that point of my this lifetime's end goal within the next 2 years. I would have realized what I'd forecast, what I thought it would be when I hit the age of 70 or 80. I'll probably, God willing and all going smoothly, will probably arrive at that point in the next 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Congratulations.
possibly in the next 4 years, there'll be a number that I didn't imagine in my generation, in my time. Um,
So, what's
but
been the saving grace on that journey, mate? Like you said, I think the word that stuck out amongst all of that beautiful share is consistency.
correct. And consistency, like if I'm talking around investing or if I'm talking, it doesn't, it's irrelevant. Everything's a percentage.
Yeah.
I might earn $100,000 today. Well, you just invest 10% of that $100,000. Every
Yeah.
dollar you earn should be invested at
Yeah.
10%. And that's the consistency. Now, if I earn a dollar today and that's all I got for the rest of the month, I just invest 10% of that. It doesn't change
Yeah.
because I'm working with a universal law at this point. And it's not about, yes, it does help when you throw in 100,000 versus, a dollar. There's a huge difference. But it's the consistency of always having that neural pathway that if I earn X amount of dollars, 10% goes towards that.
Yeah. 100%.
And I don't judge the day I do it's a dollar and I only get to invest 10 cents. I don't judge that. It's just part of the plan. So it's my neural system that's really comfortable. It says, yeah, I'm just going to put 10% towards myself first.
Yeah.
Then I can go do everything else after that.
I wish that I had someone take me aside when I was in my 20s. Not that I probably would have listened. Let's say 30s, early 30s,
Yeah.
and share that wisdom with me in a way that allowed me to develop that in my own world, because that's something that now I'm catching up on in my mid 40s. It's never too late, and I can already, crunching the numbers, I can see that the profound impact this is having even in a short term. But this is all quite
Mm,
new to me, that aspect. On the other aspect, I've been blessed to live this life and
mm,
travel and do all the things at that young age where I was able to really experience all the fruits of life in all those different countries and living my dream, touring the world as a musician, etc. To now come back to be really content in this next stage of creating. So there's maybe a playoff there, but there's no reason I couldn't have done that 10% piece
correct.
by piece as I went.
Yeah, I remember I used to teach this analogy, and it's a mathematical formula
Mm-hmm.
that when a young girl at the age of 21 invests $2,000 a year, and she invests it for 10 years. So she gets from 21 to 31 and just puts away 2 grand a year. It's not
Yeah.
a big amount. And we'll call it Jay, younger version of Jay.
Mm-hmm.
Jay went out and traveled the world, lived life, did whatever he wanted to do. And when he got to 31, he said, I'm going to knuckle down now and I'm going to invest 5 grand a year for the rest of my life. So she invested only $2,000 for 10 years.
Yeah.
Jay invests $5,000 for the rest of his life. So let's say Jay lives till, like at worst, say he had an early death at 60, 70. Who do you think could have more money?
Yeah, well, I know the answer, but yeah,
Yeah.
you'd think the $5,000 one, right? But it's not
You
the
would think
case.
he's doing 5 grand, which is more for a longer period of time.
Yeah,
He can't catch up because by the time Jay started at 31, she had 8 years of compounding effect. So
yeah,
compounding doesn't actually work for the first 8 years.
yeah,
But it was Einstein who said that compounding is the eighth wonder of the world.
yeah,
It is a universal law. And if you can grow your investments at 8.43% per annum, you will outperform anyone who dives into the market with 100,000 or whatever it may be.
yeah,
And it's that again, it's that consistent little things of doing the consistent things daily, moving towards a bigger outcome and long term goal.
yeah,
But if you don't have that long term goal, you don't have anything to aim for, you're guaranteed to miss.
100%. And it's never too late to start, guys. Like, there's something for
Yeah.
me starting later in life, and envying that younger Jay, but it is what it is. And now
But you look
playing
at
that
Colonel
game.
Sanders. What was he, 62? And KFC
Mm,
is one of the world's largest brands. He failed, 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 failed. There is so many entrepreneurs who don't make it until 40.
yeah,
And he was 62. And he still just one more try, one more try, one more try, and then it landed.
yeah.
There was so many of those big names and big chains that we, use or know of that were exactly the same way.
I'd love to presence around this too with the long game concept that it makes the day by day journey so much more stable. This is what I've learned as in I'm not losing focus on the next big shiny object or the next bright shiny
Yeah.
object that comes into my day. I'm less inclined to be distracted by things that aren't serving the mission of that long term purpose. And I keep coming back to that long term goal. And therefore, it doesn't matter if I have a bad day or a bad week or whatever that is, because in the grand scheme of getting to that end result, it's a tiny little grain of sand, it's a speck of sand, as opposed to being thrown right off path and then going and starting the next bright, shiny object that lands in my lap. Uh,
Yeah.
that has been a big game changer of getting clear on what that long game looks like.
Yeah. And that long game is, what's your highest values?
Yeah, so that's obviously shifted as it always does, and in the recent years, especially, health has become much more on the forefront of the game. So yeah, health and my life balance of moving to Fiji next year is the plan, and
Mm.
setting that up. So where I'm going to be, my being with my family and time. Time
You
is
got
of
to
the
even look at that. You
yeah.
bought that land back in 2016 from memory?
2013, I think it was.
13. Now, you had no idea at that point what it would look like today. All you knew is, I'm planting a seed
Yeah,
today. It will one day become a forest. I
yeah.
just don't know what the forest looks like.
It already was a forest, that was for
Yeah,
sure.
true,
But
true. This
yes,
is
yes, yes.
jungle.
Metaphorically, yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
100%.
so there's having that vision is, it seemed crazy at the time. It made
Yeah,
no sense at the time. And then life got in the way. COVID happened and you couldn't get to the island anyway, even if you wanted to sort of see it. And but there was something in your heart, and that's, when we break, it takes courage, right,
mm,
to have a vision. When you talk about courage, is core, is the truest essence of from your heart. When you're speaking from the heart, when you're acting from your heart,
yeah,
despite all fear and all irrationality and everyone else's projections of, oh, Jay, that's a stupid idea, that's a bad investment. Yeah, for you, but it's not in alignment with your values. It's in alignment with mine.
yeah,
And so when you know your values and your highest values, you'll always rule in favor of that, and you'll never be disappointed. But when you try and live to someone else's values or projections, like if I said to you, fitness is my highest value, and I was like, Jay, you should go for a run.
mm,
That's just a projection of my values onto you, forcing my way onto you. If it's not into your values and you started going for a run, you're going to have knee problems, back problems, you're going to hate it, you're going to disgruntled, and you'll never run again eventually.
yeah,
Whereas when
yeah,
you find your way and you find your truth, it will become your own. So always make sure that your vision will always should, as my projection should, could, you would like to know that your values line up with your vision, your greater vision, and then it will be much easier for you to achieve them.
yeah, definitely. And I guess diversification, you know, having your hand in different pots, so to
Yeah.
speak, for me, not being a late bloomer on the things like investing and things like superannuation, which I didn't really think of much as a touring musician. Uh,
Mm.
I did do things like buy the block in Fiji and a few other little random things that have paid off in the long term to get to this level of where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And now moving into this next chapter, the energy in which I put into the automated uh, projects that I've built that are so built from every ounce of my heart, my
Mm.
Tribal Moon Cacao, and now the Australian Music School for Autism and Special Interest Learning, those things that I dove so deep into my heart and just kept coming back to my heart in the creation of what those things would even be and how they were.
Mm.
I was just looking at the Tribal Moon Cacao packaging yesterday with a friend, looking at the packaging and all the little symbols and all the artwork, thinking, man,
Yeah.
I designed every nuance, every tiny little speck of any bit of art or imagery of Tribal Moon. I did myself. I either
Mm.
mapped it out or I did it with artists if I didn't have the skills, or the photography. 95% of it is my own photography, and I love that.
Yep.
And then with Autism Music Australia, same thing. Built, all the books I've written, all the programs from the heart up. And what's been really reflecting lately, and I find it's one of the most common reflections back to me from others of what they're most inspired in me, is how passionate I am about what I do. And it's just relentless. Like, I love doing what I do. I'm so happy to do those big days of 4 a.m. till 9 p.m. Like, I do it. I've done it for weeks of my life, and still I do it a couple of days a week, and I just love it. The only thing that gets phased is probably my body throughout a big day like that, but my mind and my heart, I'm just so into creating those things, and that's a big part of playing the long game and this
Yeah.
conversation today.
Yeah, because you don't have the endurance. If you're relying upon thy will, um, that energy is short term.
Yeah,
I should do this. I need to do that, as opposed to using my will versus thy will. My will is my own willpower. It's got about 2 hours, to be honest. By the time I hit 10 o'clock, my willpower is tapped out. You
yeah,
know, I got to do the difficult things early and the creative things early while I'm fresh, because it's finite. But when we tune into universal law and we tune into whatever you want to call it, God, light, love, source, universe, whatever your thing is, Allah, whoever, they're all great. They're all the same thing.
light
There's
and
no
dark, black
separation.
and white, whatever you want to call it, yin
Yeah.
and yang,
Yeah. Love, presence, truth. Like, it's all available to us, right?
love or fear.
Choose your own adventure. Yeah. And when you tune into thy will as opposed to my will, thy will is infinite. And when you're in that 4 till 9 o'clock, 4 a.m. till 9 o'clock, you're using God's power. You're
Yeah,
using your higher power. You're using your higher self. You can't turn the tap off. It's like having, like, I love this phrasing. It's like being a 60-watt light globe with 1,000 watts running through you. You're that little wire holding on for dear life, going, try not to blow. And it's just pouring out of you, and you
and it
cannot
feels
step
like that
away.
physically,
Yeah,
mentally, emotionally. It feels like that. Like recording an album, for instance, it's just
yeah.
the best feeling.
And you're just holding on, trying to let it flow through, right? Because the human experience can't handle all of that at once, so we have to do it in small bursts. And we find seasons for it. You'll be writing an album and you might put 6 to 8 weeks, just cannot put a pen down, and all of a sudden it just says, enough, have a break,
Yeah,
and so the body knows, okay, I've hit the ceiling, I need to go into a different season. We're constantly moving through seasons in life, and then it moves and goes, okay, what's the next phase? Do I need to rest and recover and then push again, or is it complete? And then you
yeah,
move into a completely new phase of death and recreation.
yeah. And that acceptance of the next phase as well is a thing.
Yeah,
Not sitting in the
yeah,
old thing for too long. So when do you change? So just being in flow with that, and I think again that playing of the long game and having that skill to be able to break things down into 5 years, and then the
yeah,
annual plan, and then the quarterly plan, and then the monthly plan, and the weekly plan, and then the top three things that I must do today to achieve this result in the 10-year
yeah.
goal. Do not underestimate the power of those things, people. Like, it's just
The
huge.
simplicity of that is far more potent than what anyone can imagine.
So potent.
It's really like Jay. But basically, what Jay did then was he zoomed out. Yeah, he went out to create. He got out of his own egoic self and his own willpower. He went into the creation phase. He went 10 years out into the future. And I think it's Janet Atwood. She talks about intention, attention, and then no tension. So the intention is Jay went out, created a 10-year vision. Intention, he gave it some love in the micro. So that's macro. And he brought it back to micro. Okay, what can I do today? What are what's one task I can do today that moves me slightly towards that goal? And then we let it go. No tension. It's like, I've done the intention, I've given a little bit of love, and then I trust in the universal law of flow and resonance and receptivity, and it will come back to me. And whatever I put out will come back. Yeah. And then so we zoom out and then we zoom back in and focus on one thing today to prevent a sense of overwhelm.
Yeah, trust. The word trust just hit me and
Yeah.
what you just shared, that was big.
Mm.
The trusting in the bigger picture, but it's a knowing. It's a knowing that's in my heart. For me, that the gift of music with that has just been the be all and end all of the journey. It's
Mm.
so big for me. Whether it's the actual playing of it or the creating things around it now is what that's turned into with my music schools and those amazing automated programs and books to share that magic. I'm not really playing much music while I'm doing it, but I'm so invested in it because I know the impact. I get to see it every day, the impact it has on the kids, and
Mm.
seeing this, getting clear on this scalable mission to now zoom that out to not the 50 kids I teach one on one a week, not the 100 people on the wait list, but scaling that to thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of people. How was I able to build this thing that was scalable? That was the big thing. And chipping away at that, getting closer and closer. It was one thing to build the thing, but then learning the process of how to scale that and how to share that and how to make it adaptable, how to make it accessible, how to make it affordable, how to make it flow with ease and grace, how to make it
Mm.
no work for the parents, how to include the parents, how to actually make it all about the parents when the product isn't about the parents, because it's so important that us parents are being the best version of ourselves that we can be to show up for our kids, and without that you ain't got shit. So yeah, huge.
Yeah. Yeah. Really beautiful. Pouring your heart. But that takes, you see, I'm going to come back to heart because we're speaking about that a lot today. Courage comes from the heart, right? But you've been challenged. It hasn't been all smooth sailing. Like you've had launch after launch after launch and learnings after learnings after learning. Each one was successful,
Yeah,
but you had to refine it to get to where you are now. It
yeah,
was like, God, that thing took off and blew my phones up. It was a sense of almost too much, like which is sounds crazy when you do a launch, but it was too much at that point, and you're like, right, I need a different resource. So it was your ability to show up and fail early and often. Not that that was a failure; it was just a great lesson. That was like, shit, we need more team members, we need more resources, we need bigger phone lines, we need automation so people can get more information. And then each time you launched, it was a more refinement, a more in alignment with more and more what your true heart was calling. Each one of those steps takes courage. Courage is acting from the heart despite of the fear that's present. And so each one of those steps was you willing to fail, willing to take that feedback, willing to refine it, and show up through all that and grow through each one of the seasons, which was expansive and then collapsing and then expanding and then collapsing it again.
yeah,
And that's where the most successful people live.
100%.
It's in that space where it's not comfortable. It's in the space where it's risky. It's in that space, like every time you grow, Jay, your brand goes out there more. You're increasing the opportunity for exposure. Now everyone thinks that's good, but it's exposure of all of your flaws as well. It's not just one-sided coin. It's like, where am I inadequate? Where am I not enough? What is my underlying belief? Who's going to find out? You know, I often laugh at celebrities because, sorry, not laugh at them. That's bad phrasing. But the situation and scenario, right, is these women never come out about the guy that was, a bit of a playboy or a thing until he's famous, right? Like he's a bit of a nobody, doesn't really make it. All of a sudden he hits 30 mil, and all these women come out and go, that guy, I'm not saying he didn't, but it's funny how they come out then, So
Yeah,
when you rise, be prepared to take the arrows, and so for every time that's going to take more courage, and each one of those steps is going to require more of you and more courage in a different way. It takes courage to invest 10% of your income because you're not used to that.
yeah,
It takes courage to go to the gym every day when you're not used to it, you know and every time it requires a different version of yourself, a different level of courage to keep going. I've been training since I was 14, and I probably got my body to a point where I could hold this relatively easy. I'm the hardest trainer in the gym. I show up 6 days a week, like, and I don't show up. I mean, I tear the place down
Mm,
and I try and take everyone out along the way.
mm,
And then, happy to mop up afterwards and tell them, oh, hello, hi, I'm nice now. I'm there because I want to be the best version of myself.
yeah.
And that takes courage.
It's like you
So,
flick a switch or something there, right? It's like you flick an on-off
totally,
switch to be a different
those
Michael
headphones
Cooper.
come on and there's a complete beast that comes out, and the eyes, have you ever seen a great white shark eat
Yeah.
something? Their eyes roll. That's what happens when I go to the gym. And I use
Mm,
that analogy. I'm like, cool, game time, bang, my eyes
yeah.
roll. We go into kill mode. And the minute and I can't wait, I get to that last set and I'm like, I'm dying to take these things off because I want to go back to that beautiful, loving, softer energy.
Mm.
And I finish that last set. The first thing I do is like take my headphones off and go, oh, thank fuck, thank God. And then I can just
It's
go calm. And I'm like, how quickly can I regulate back to a place of being loving? I go from killer mode because it's functional. I want to be able to destroy something if my wife or my beloved or my children are at threat.
mm,
So I train for that.
mm.
However, I don't want to live in that where I used to try and live in that all day.
I love that. I'm trying to think of times in my life when I can relate to having that, and the gym is not a place where that comes naturally for me.
Mm,
It's I have to use leverage to stay in there, audiobooks, these sorts of things, and that works a treat. But the place I can think of where I've always brought that is the stage, is on stage when I'm behind my
yeah.
instruments, and I get on my drums and I bring that epic caveman to the
Mm,
table and just
mm,
go nuts. And there's been so many times when I've been on stage and ripping so hard on the didgeridoo while ripping so hard on the drum kit or the guitars with the feet going on the stomp boxes and working all the pedals, and especially on the didge when I just go, I must go harder. I know I've got more in me. And then, the room starts spinning a little bit, and I know the feeling like when I get close because the stars start shooting in front
yep.
of I have my eyes closed and the stars
Wow.
start shooting. I'm sure you must have
Yeah.
had a similar thing happen in the gym.
Oh, I've passed out. I
Yeah.
saw the stars and then I've passed out. Many times I've fallen to the floor, literally passing out. But I've seen Jay. I know what he talks about. He's not even. It's almost like he's in his body, but he's almost not in his body. It's like, or something's coming through his body. Maybe is a better way of saying it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an outer body experience.
Getting lost in the music, just getting so
Jay,
lost and
yeah,
consumed in the music. Uh, just like you in the gym. So finding that place, for anyone that's out there, maybe just curious on where is your place where you get lost, and if you haven't
right,
found
yeah,
that, where would that be? For some people, it's walking in nature and these sorts of things, which I
mm,
definitely resonate with too. I definitely find that walking in nature and being out there as well, but it's different. It's
very
more of a feminine play for me, whereas in that scenario on stage, it's definitely a masculine
primal.
primal play thing, like you in the gym.
Yeah, and choose your poison. Like I'm the same as you, mate. Nature sits are mandatory for me. I
Yeah,
need it.
yeah,
I need to sit at the beach or on the mountain, but it's to achieve a different state.
yeah,
Everything is very particular and driven by. So the gym is my primal survival mode to be able to fight, fuck, and forage.
mm,
It's my old traditional masculinity.
yeah,
And then sitting in nature is what the nature based people did to find themselves, right? And so I'm functional. I'm making sure that I can, if the house is burning, I can run in and carry three kids at once over my shoulder whilst kicking a door down.
yeah,
Like that's the vision. That's why I train that way. However, they don't need that version of me when I walk in the door after it. So
yeah.
I need to go sit in nature to balance it out. And that's what they feel whilst knowing that I have the ability to destroy.
That mindset that you have of that, like saving the kids, being able to knock the door down,
Sure.
if in those sorts of situations, where did you get that? Where did you install that?
I don't know. There's something wrong wired upstairs. I don't know. But I remember I was in a phase of strength and I would practice deadlifting 260 kilos. But my vision right before it was horrible vision. And God willing, it never happened, and it didn't. But I would imagine my kids were trapped in a car on a highway and I've driven past and I need to lift the car up. So that's what I practiced. I would practice to be functional to save lives. And
Wow.
you can pull on superhuman strength. Like 260 kilos isn't a lot, but I only weighed 80 kilos at the time. So that's not a bad pull. But there's many men, like there's guys out there now pulling 505 kilos, I think it was.
Wow.
One, whatever it is, 105 pounds or something. So huge, huge weights. But for me, that was my ceiling, and there's times that I passed out trying to do that, but
Mm.
I would go there every day because I wanted to be ready for whatever life threw at me. And
Yeah.
if it was that, I'm like, I've trained for this. I'm not
Yeah.
afraid of it. Let's go. Yeah, and so everything I did was had an emotional driver behind it, so that I could get out of my physical capabilities and tune into what I'm truly capable of without limitation. And mothers could do this. Like if there's science has proven it that we can tap into superhuman strength if we can get out of our limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
And so they see this with mothers who similar situations. Their kids are in danger and they're trapped. They could lift something they could never lift if you asked them to do it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if
You
their
hear that story
kids
all
are
the
under
time,
threat,
hey? Yeah.
it's everywhere, and science has proven it.
Yeah.
I can't remember the there's a thing that they talk about, but there's a name for it. But yeah, it's literally we have a self protecting mechanism within our bodies to keep us safe. The human body is always looking to make things easier, less taxing on our body, and keep us safe. It's constantly got that lens. So when you can remove that and get outside of yourself, that's when you can do superhuman events. And so live that way.
Yeah. Live that way. That's
Yeah,
incredible. That's why I asked when did you install that? Because what a thing to install to have that mindset as the go-to when you're in those times struggling in the gym or other aspects of life.
yeah.
That's
And
huge.
that's when the kids were young. So that was like 2012, 2014 was that it just came to me
Yeah.
to practice. But I've always held that around masculinity as being functional.
Yeah.
It's not relevant and functional. Like you can go get a new younger guy. That's cool. That's who I compete against. I make sure that everyone in the gym who's 20, I'm better than. Because my beloved, she can, if there's men are threats, and I'm like,
Yeah.
cool, find a more functional guy, you know,
Yeah.
and so I'm always making sure I'm relevant in
Yeah.
every way.
Love it. Love it. That growth in the fear too, mate. Obviously, everyone, all of my mentors say that the growth is in the fear and the growth is in the
Mm.
failure. Sorry, that is what I'm saying. The growth is in the failure. So when you're failing at things, which corresponds with fear too, but that failure is where the magic happens. And one thing I'd like to presence is the repetition of the what do I want to say, reflection from the failure. That
Mm.
basically keeps reminding you over the years. The one failure from 6 years ago may keep the residue from that keeps reminding me along my journey, and that's happened in so many ways recently from old business projects that didn't go like I thought they would or turned into something else. Uh, what comes to mind, for instance, is say something like Tribal Moon, like how I see the sales from that coming in while I'm asleep, and it
Yeah.
keeps reminding me, even though that's not something I'm that involved with anymore, it keeps reminding me that that's possible, and to relate those things from that success or failure into the new projects, it keeps stoking my fire to be like, no, this is possible. When I think that I'm not sure if this is going to work, when I have those
Mm.
days, it keeps me pushing because the residue from those failures keeps repeating and rearing its head in sometimes great ways and sometimes not so good ways. So lean into the failures, guys. Like lean
Yeah.
into the failure 100%.
Yeah, and I think a slight reframe on that is it's feedback.
Yeah.
We,
Yeah.
d- we a society as a whole would classify failure as a bad thing, but you and I see it as like awesome. That needs refinement,
Yeah.
and it doesn't mean it's a bad idea because everything that you've done in business, be it Tribal Moon, music, or elsewhere, I guarantee you're using to some degree right now,
Yeah. 100%.
and you've mastered it now because of the refinement process that you went through, which was considered feedback.
Yeah.
And so, and you look at the gym, like gym is, when I go to the gym, I train to failure. And you said, like, you even used the analogy. You said, "Oh, it's the reps of failing time and time again." That's what we do when we go to the gym. We do 3 or 4 sets. For me, I try and do nearly 3 of those to failure. Overtrainer, but I'm good with it. That's my vice. But I train to failure. How can I do? So I'll get to say 12 reps. That's my goal. I try and get to fail at 10. So I slow it down to make it harder, or I contract harder. So I don't make 12. And then I get to 10 and I start to shake. And I get to 11 and I don't complete the rep. So then I drop the weight down 20% and I go again until I can't do any more.
Mm.
So I went to failure and then I found a new level of failure on a lighter weight.
Yeah.
And so I'm constantly, what we're doing is teaching our body to break down and rewire and grow itself. And so this is a growth mindset. When I look at that as success, I'm not afraid. There is no such thing as failure. I'm not afraid. I'm like, do it until you can't do any more, then go again.
Yeah.
And it's a metaphor, but it plays out in every area of your life. So your relationship's hard. Cool. Break it down. Go again.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I'm endless.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Thanos sometimes. I'm inevitable and endless.
Oh, there's some inspiration for you, everybody. Michael Cooper, thank you so much for your time today. It's always a pleasure. And we have some incredible topics coming up on this podcast over the upcoming weeks. So, everyone, please tune back in. Thanks for your support as always. Please leave a comment. Please share this with a friend. And Michael Cooper, I'll see you next week.
Big love, brother. Thank you, mate.